The Constitutional Court in Johannesburg is hearing argument on the constitutionality of the administrative adjudication of road traffic offences, AARTO. The organisation undoing tax abuse, OUTA, has applied for the confirmation of a High Court order declaring the AARTO Act and the Amendment Act unconstitutional and invalid. The court found that the legislation unlawfully intrudes upon the executive and the legislative competence of local and provincial governments envisaged in the Constitution. Now, AARTO's system of demerit points may lead to the suspension and ultimately cancellation of driving licenses. Now, let's discuss this further. We're now joined via Zoom by Adv Stefanie Fick, Head of Legal and Executive Director of the Accountability Division at OUTA. Thank you so much for your time. So, you as OUTA, you are hoping to confirm the High Court's ruling scrapping AARTO legislation. Perhaps give us a little bit of background in terms of the court processes and the legal processes that you've been undergoing up to this point.
Thank you so much, Unati. Sure, today it became very technical, and all the arguments and you know, the RTMC, AARTO and Minister having their say, and our council, you know, trying, you know, convincing the court that we need to declare this this legislation unconstitutional. Now, where it started is we actually, right in the beginning, when they wanted to introduce the AARTO Amendment Act. So there's the AARTO Act, that's the original act that's currently applicable in only Tshwane and Joburg. And then there's an amendment that they wanted to roll out for the whole of South Africa. And we commented, and we went to the different provinces and said that, listen, we don't think that this will work. We are obviously not against, you know, curbing road deaths. I think no one can say that they, you know, are against curbing road deaths. But we thought that this is an administrative process that is very cumbersome and it's not going to work. We saw that AARTO in Gauteng did not work. I mean, it took them more than 10 years. It's in 1998, and it's still not really a success. And I don't think we see any consequence, you know, any curbing of any road deaths. So we commented, but then unfortunately they did not heed our call to, you know, come to the table, let's discuss, let's see how we can, you know, create safer roads for everybody. So the president signed the law into law. Although the AARTO Amendment Act hasn't started yet, it was signed. And then we realized that there's also a constitutional issue. So except for the practical challenges, there's also this constitutional challenge, which, without boring you with too many details, is that it is about local government has an executive, you know, on an executive level has got the right to do certain things in terms of our constitution. And we are saying, because national government, although they can legislate certain things, you know, in this instance, that separation between the three layers of government is not there.
It is, like you say, you know, very technical, you know. So what are the grounds, do you think, of a Minister of Transport opposing the High Court decision? Essentially, he's saying that the court has got it all wrong.
Yes, they basically said that the High Court erred in making a finding of invalidity and unconstitutionality. They are of the opinion that you know, this legislation is not contrary to our constitution. So it's sort of the opposite argument that this legislation, although, you know, it's so difficult to try and explain that will make sense, because you have AARTO and all the adjudication is done by a national body. And what we are saying is municipalities can enforce laws. In other words, we have municipal police officers and so forth. But when it comes to adjudication, all of a sudden, again, they are dependent on a national body. And all we are saying is, yes, national can say what offences there are, because you want a conformity across South Africa. But when it comes to municipalities, our constitution is saying that there's three layers of government, and each of one of them has got some executive powers.
Now, of course, we know that you are hoping, that the Apex Court will come to confirm, the High Court ruling. But what would a demerit system that is constitutional look like for you? I mean, just given the problems that we understand and we know that the ministry is facing in terms of road usage, etc. What is the ideal then, traffic regulation that you would like to see?
Now, if I can, sort of spitballing this with you is, we don't necessarily have a problem with a demerit system, because the demerit system would also, it will create uniformity. But the way we introduce the demerit system. So AARTO is a lot about not offences, it is about how do we adjudicate the offences, and it's a very administrative process. So, for example, if AARTO is unconstitutional, and national government comes back and say there's a demerit system. If you, for this offence, in terms of the National Road Traffic Act, for example, you'll get 1 point, and if you have 13 points or 15 points or whatever, your license will be taken away from you. So when you are then stopped by municipalities or whatever, and you get a fine, and you pay that fine, and that offence is then linked to a demerit point, you'll get a demerit point. So we don't have to go through this elaborate, process of the municipality can give you a fine, or RTI can give you a fine. Then you can make representations, which you can in terms of the criminal procedure act. But be that as it may, and then if you're unhappy, you go to this national body, the appeals tribunal. We don't know where that's going to sit. There's only one of them, 9 temporary people. They're also not permanent, so they don't sit permanently. Who's going to deal with all queries from the whole of the country? So to bring in demerit system will actually be quite easy for them. My only concern, and this is really my only concern, is that we need to get our systems in order. I mean, we are faced with roads full of potholes. We need to fix that. We need to make sure that we have more visible policing. In other words, in order to enforce demerit systems, we need to have people that can catch the criminals and give them fines in order for them to then get demerit points. And notice, can we get rid of all the duplicate cars, etc., etc. So, no problem with demerit system, but there's a lot of work to be done.
All right, thank you so much, Advocate Fick, for that. All right, that is Advocate Stefanie Fick, Head of Legal and Executive Director of the Accountability Division at OUTA.